Today, we're going to talk about hooks, specifically generating neurologically sound hooks. And I wanted to get you guys kind of a repeatable method for this, just because sometimes I find that it's very difficult to come up with new hooks. We just kind of like regurgitate back to the same, basically 4 different hooks that the entire industry has been using for forever. So to start though, I think it's important for us to sit down like the 2 things that I hear the most often, which is the first 3 seconds matter the most, and you need a pattern interrupt. This is technically true from what I'm seeing from the science. The problem that I have with this is it's only like partially true. So these 2 things that you see all over the internet, very sound. We've tested them many times. The problem is they don't quite map to what's happening inside the brain when it actually looks at hooks. So we're going to go through this. And again, just stop me if you have any questions. This is the type of stuff that I see all the time. You guys can raise your hand if you've ever written this hook, because I have written these many times, especially like earlier on in my career. This is like a templated version, right? So we have like these hook 4,000 different hook swipe files that you've seen on the internet. Drives me crazy because they're all templates like this. I went from X to Y, or why are we still doing X? You'll see this so many times from creators. It drives me crazy when they say it, or stuff like this, where it's like my main complaints about this industry or this product or this whatever. The weird part is if I go to like 10 different brands, I'll see the exact same hook regardless of the industry or like regardless of the product. It almost seems like everybody's kind of just like sharing each other's hooks, and it gets very repetitive for not just for us, obviously, but for the consumers. Now, there's a reason why I wanted to focus on hooks today, and I'm so glad you all voted for it, because I'm like, this is a problem, because if we notice that these hooks are getting stagnant, so do the consumers. And there's an actual deeper brain problem with this. If your hooks start to come from templates and we start to all sound the same, the brain starts to tune it out. So that's kind of what we're saying. So I want to start with talking about this guy. His name is Dr. Thomas Zerga Ramsey. Fantastic guy. He is a neuroscientist. He's a neuropsychologist. He's a best-selling author. I mean, the guy, I don't know how he has this much time. I think he also has kids. I'm like, how are you dealing with your life? Fantastic dude. He created a brand, a business called Neurons. Neurons went and basically ran EEG scans of the brain, where it'll go through and it'll track to see what's popping up, right? What you've seen these like weird scans where you can see all the colors in the brain. So they took a look at all of these different colors and how the waves were actually working when they looked at ads, advertising of any sort. And they specifically looked at what happened to the brain during those first 3 seconds of the ad. What they found was super fascinating. So we're going to break this apart according to what we know in marketing, right? So the very first thing, first 3 seconds matters the most. Sort of true, kind of not true at all. We are off by about 2.7 seconds. The first 3 seconds don't matter nearly as much as the first second, which is slightly terrifying. And I want to kind of break down what they found, because they've been like posting about this all over the place. In the first 100 milliseconds, you have this really interesting thing happen with the brain where it's kind of sitting here going, what is this? The way that it's interpreting that first 100 milliseconds, like literally before a second has even happened, is based upon a couple different things. We'll talk about it in a second. But that first 100 milliseconds is critical, because this is where the brain says this is an ad or this is content. 100 milliseconds is all you have before it makes that split-second decision. In the first 300 milliseconds, very, very short amount of time. Again, not even a second has gone by. The brain then says, I either feel something towards this or I don't. The brain is screaming fast, like we've talked about many, many times. So you're only 300 milliseconds into this, and the brain has already decided, do I feel something towards this or not? Was I able to create chemicals to make me feel something? After that, we're now up to 700 milliseconds. We still haven't hit a second in, and the brain has already decided, this is an ad. I know what's going on. So between 100 milliseconds and 700 milliseconds, the brain has done basically 3 different things. It will take a look at it, start to process it, decide whether it knows what's going on, and create an emotional response to it. By 1 second in, the brain has already decided, yes, I'm going to stay and watch this, or no, I'm done, and then moves on. Very, very short amount of time. By 1 second, this was really interesting in their study that they posted, the brain has started to memory encode. Meaning it's checking to see inside my memory, do I need to hold this information? That doesn't happen until 1 second in. Everybody on marketing, D2C Twitter, is talking about 3 seconds. Very important. What you say, you're already done. It's already lost. By the time you hit that 3 second mark, the whole thing is over.
Sarah, quick question. in 1 second, you don't have the time to get your hook out. So you only have like 5 or 6 words you can get out.
100%. Yeah,
So
even
it's
that.
got to be
Yeah.
more visual, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And this is really interesting because they're studying not just ads, but they're also just studying content in general. And it applies across the board. So that first second, this is the reason why I'm like hook doesn't mean words. Hook
This is
doesn't
what I've
mean what I'm saying. Yeah.
This is what I've seen. I've seen people say you need a verbal hook, the visual hook, so what's happening on screen, and then the text on screen hook, because obviously
there's like three. Spot on. There's 3 different hooks in one. Yes. So you got visual hook, you've got a sound hook or a not sound hook, a silent hook, and your text hook. There's 3 separate things. Yep. How do you write these? We have to really kind of realign our brain a little bit with stuff that the brain likes to process. It will gladly accept something. That's pretty easy for it to understand. First, a human face. Brains are encoded from birth to look at human faces. We look at them everywhere. It's very strange. If you've ever seen a tree that looks like it has a human face in the branches, people were selling toasts with like Britney Spears' face on it for a little bit. All kinds of weird stuff because the brain can't help it. Very critical to our survival as humans to be able to identify a human face in particular. We also do this with animal faces. This is the reason why cute animals often do really well in any sort of content, but humans in particular is what we're looking for. So that's number 1. Any sort of 300 millisecond hook, I want you to do some sort of a human face mid emotion. We're going to talk about these in a second. Second thing, a motion that doesn't match the scroll. Emotion. So for instance, if I just like randomly kept talking and you just guys saw this coming in and it was just like blah, 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 like the brain, and we did the things and I just kept doing this, you'd be like, what is she doing? Motion that doesn't match the scroll. Now, as you know, scroll goes up. So oftentimes I've seen people try and go down with something as you're scrolling up. So it does this very, very keen way to get in that 300 millisecond moment for the brain. You have to stop because something happened that was kind of closing up the gap. Instead of what usually happens is I scroll up and everything's one frame, right? Number 3, a visual, something that breaks your formats. And I've got so many different examples of what you could do with this, but it needs to be something that I think you can either immediately recognize that's just in the wrong spot. For instance, I've seen a lot of people put like laptops in refrigerators and the laptop has something on it, text or the product or like, the CTA, whatever it is. It's just a visual that's like not supposed to be there. Or I've seen quite a lot of people give you only a partial view of something, where it's like, it looks like it should be a marble, but it's definitely not a marble. Like it turns into something else. You've seen this a lot with, what are those videos that are like, is it real or is it cake? Where it's like, this is a remote control and then they cut it in half and it's like, oh my God, it's cake. Okay, and last one on here, some sort of precognitive sound. Precognitive sound. I have a really good example of this from an ad, and I wish to God I would have saved it when I was working with this company, but I didn't. I used to work with Lust Brands, who does like curly hair care. They had one ad that had run for 4 years straight. Every single year they ran it on Black Friday because it just printed money. And I hate that phrase, but it did. This particular ad, and I think I've talked about it before actually in here, sounded like it was a phone conversation between the CMO and her creative strategist, where the CMO was acting surprised. You could hear just her part of the conversation. And she was saying something like, oh my God, they approved it? There's no way. I didn't think they was going to approve this discount. There's no way. They dropped it by 40%. That's insane. Like we've never run a discount this big. You could hear the pauses where she was waiting for someone to respond, but you couldn't hear that person responding. So this precognitive sound that we're all used to, which is phone conversations, critically important for that 300 millisecond scroll, because we were waiting to hear what the other person would say, and then we never got it. So it created a lot of open loops in the brain. One of the best neurologically sound ads I think I've ever seen built. She did that on accident, but the CMO is very smart. The CMO of that company was such a good creative strategist. She was so good. So let's start with faces first. What is this guy's face thinking, do you think? What is he saying in this facial expression?
I think it's an open loop. We have no idea.
We have no idea. So we have to stay. At this point, we have to stay just because his face is saying something that I don't quite understand. I'm like, he's looking at someone, I can tell, because he's got a little scrunched, right? His eyes are not very wide. It's not like he's looking at a big scene. He's looking at someone. And the interesting part is he looks like he's just about to speak. So something is happening here. I can also see arms. So the brain will come down here and look, he's pointing at something off screen. Look at how cut off his hand is though. So I can't tell, is he pointing? Is he gesturing? What's he doing? So I have to stay. There's very little text on here. I grabbed basically just the first screenshot of the very first second. There's no context. But this was actually a really good video. This was a guy that was basically just street jamming with a bunch of other people who also had instruments. Interesting piece of content. So when you choose human faces, pick ones that are actually candid if you can. Obviously, if you're using a creator, the best thing you can possibly do is ask them to get you as much B-roll as possible. Secondary thing, like we talked about, is some sort of like movement on or off screen, right? Where we talked about before. This is interesting because according to Ramsey, this is what the brain was seeing. This is what it looked at next to double check what the heck is going on here. Where do we think this shovel is going?
Down there.
Down the hole. You don't even have to see the video, and it's like he's going to drop it. I know he's going to drop it. So the brain stays because it goes, now I have to see whether he drops it. He did drop it, by the way, in this video. He dropped it in the hole. This guy has a massive channel. It's called Spoon, if anybody wants to go look at his weird content. He literally just dug a bunker in the shed in his mom's backyard for every follower he gets. So if he gets like thousands of followers a day, he'll go down in this weird hole and he'll take this little spoon and he'll just, this is what I'm saying. I'm like, guys, you don't have to be pretty with your content. Please don't. In fact, get weird with it. The weirder you can get, the more interesting it is, the more the brain wants to stop, the more people you're going to get. So, okay. So very first thing we have to remember, when you're building these like 300 millisecond hooks, the brain is feeling something by 300 milliseconds, not even a second in, right? It knows what's up by about 700 milliseconds. And then it's starting to encode by a second in, meaning it's trying to decide, should I remember this or not? So you got 1 second to make it happen. If it doesn't happen by then, they're probably not going to stay. They're not going to do anything with your ads. So we're going to choose those particular things. Not going to write like this anymore. No more templates, right? That the spoken hook is fine. It can come at that 3 seconds, but you're really going to focus on that second in here.
What you just saw is a conversation between myself, an 8-figure founder, a media buyer, and a creative strategist while we worked to kind of uncover some of the creative challenges that they are facing. And we do live calls like this every single week inside the Tether Lab, which is my school community. Once you join, you're going to get access to all of my trainings. You're going to get the knowledge behind 6 years and 150 plus brand consultations that I've done. And you're also going to get one-on-one support from me. So if you want to go learn more, you can go to school.com/tether-lab, or you can click the link in the description.